Welcome back to Chelsea. The crowds are buzzing and it's Medals Day.
Yes, we're bringing you the results from around the ground as we celebrate the incredible work put into these world-class displays.
And we've got plenty more tips to get your garden summer ready.
Welcome to the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2023.
Well, hello, and what a start we've had to Chelsea. A few royal visits yesterday.
Yes.
And there's been a real excitement in the air because it's Medals Day, your favourite day.
It is my favourite day of the whole week. We were here bright and early to give out those medals. You could see all the designers, their anticipation. So many look very nervous because it is a huge achievement. And I'm going to also add this year, there've been a few surprises as well.
Can't wait to find out.
I'll tell you all. Now, we have got a packed programme with our fantastic team of experts on hand with more advice for your garden. Coming up from the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2023, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
Carol is basking in the golden glow of the Great Pavilion and celebrating some of our most loved plants and showing you how to best use them this summer.
I'll be meeting the expert growers of agapanthus and tulips and finding out from them how we can get the very best from those plants in our own gardens.
Plus, Toby is back with his guide on how to spruce up your garden the Chelsea way.
I'm showing you how to create a real splash. It won't cost you a fortune. Take your garden to the next level.
Now, Nikki, are you feeling a little bit peckish?
Peckish? I'm starving, always.
Well, we're in for a treat because I'm chatting to chef and star of the Great British Menu, Nisha Katona, about her love of growing her own food. Plus, she'll be showing us how you can spice up our summer barbecues with some tasty recipes.
Oh, sounds delicious, doesn't it? Time now, though, to get some medal results. Our very own Chelsea medal-winning designer, Nick Bailey, and I joined the RHS very early this morning as the awards were handed out. It's 7 a.m. It's Medals Day, and my goodness, you can feel the nerves in it, can't we?
You really can, and I know exactly how these designers are feeling. Absolute trepidation. They're about to be judged by the world.
They certainly are. And I'm going to be joined by Sarah Pole from the RHS. So, shall we get started?
Let's go.
Come on.
Just delighted to present you with a gold medal. Silver medal. There we go. I'm delighted to present you with a gold delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Okay,
well
thank
done.
You. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Yes!
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Thank you very
well
much.
Done.
Thank you. This space is put together by one of my absolute design heroes, Cleve West. It is the Centre Point Garden, and extraordinarily, he has achieved 6 golds at Chelsea before. Good luck, Cleve.
I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal. On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold medal.
And you officially get the biggest cheer as well.
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Oh,
well
thank you
done.
very much.
A gold medal. I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Well done! Hooray! We did not expect this.
Joe and Laura, a massive congratulations. You are allowed to cry. There are you
Yeah,
full permission.
I'll cry later.
First time here, and you got a gold medal.
Delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done. Well done. I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done.
This is the biophilic Otsu Hanari garden by famed Chelsea garden designer, Mr. Ishihara. Now, it's a fabulous garden, and he has won 11 golds in the past. Could be up for another one now.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Now, I love admiring all of the colour across the showground, and this year there is one garden on Main Avenue that has really caught my eye. It's the Nurture Landscapes garden and has been designed by Sarah Price, who's created this stunning space with a real calming palette that still has a real impact. And Sarah is with me now, so welcome. Congratulations on winning gold. I really want to say that first of all.
Oh, thank you.
It's been 5 years since you've been here at Chelsea. You won gold in 2018, and to come back and win again must feel really good.
Oh, it's brilliant. I've had ideas for this garden for years, probably 8 years, and it's a huge collaborative effort.
Loads of people are involved, aren't there?
Absolutely. Crocus have grown all the plants, and that was no easy feat. To get the iris into flower was incredible.
And I suppose that time has given you time to find inspiration for this garden, because it's a loose reconstruction on Benton End, which is in Suffolk, the house and gardens there. Tell us a bit more about that. It's a really interesting story.
Yes, Cedric Morris, the artist, painter and plantsman, lived at Benton End and ran an art school there. And it was really his iris that I drew inspiration for the colour palette of this garden. They're so exquisite. They're really like no other iris in that it's really hard to describe their colours. They kind of have soft greys, browns, golds.
And it's on this colour that you've sort of based the whole garden, because it's quite muted, isn't it?
It is muted. The colour of the iris is quite subtle. It's not garish. They're very elegant, but they're kind of rich, they're mysterious, they're hard to describe, and so I really wanted to create a backdrop that would highlight the complexity of the patterns, the veining within the flowers.
So it's about creating those layers with that colour, which you can see with different plants here, can't you?
Absolutely, it's many things. It's firstly, we're surrounded by people, and it's about really drawing the crowds into the garden and creating an atmosphere with colour. So the backdrop of my garden has very strong, deep purples, yellow ochres, and then in turn not only creates the atmosphere, but it creates a backdrop to show up.
And what advice would you give to people at home who want to have a garden but don't want to use too many colours, a bit like this, and but still get that variety?
Yeah, I would say less is more. I would also, we're outside, the light is brighter. It's not like choosing colour for your interiors.
Yeah.
You have to go deeper, you have to be a bit more dramatic. Also, as you can see in this garden, I've used Eliagna's Quicksilver. I've used plants to layer the colour, so even if it goes on very bright, you can kind of layer it. You've got to imagine there's going to be shadow cast, there's going to be trees in front, flowers in front, so be bolder and don't be afraid to kind of put a very bold base down and then wash over with a lighter colour.
Well, you've been very bold and that's been very successful. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Some great tips from Sarah there, and what an exquisite garden. Now, stepping away from the excitement of the main avenue, we're taking a more tranquil approach with the sanctuary gardens, and I'm delighted to talk to Charlie, the designer here. This is a beautiful garden, Charlie, and congratulations. Your second gold at Chelsea.
No, yeah, it's gone well again, which is fantastic and great for the team and everyone involved, really.
Be honest, is there more pressure, though, having won a gold before?
Yeah, definitely.
Come on.
It definitely did feel a bit more pressure. Last year went very well, but I had sort of the same planting team. Yeah, we were confident sort of we might be able to do it again, and luckily it all came together.
Isn't there a family connection somewhere along the line?
Yeah, so my wife's family have been involved in making show gardens for a long time and have won sort of a number of golds and best in shows, and so that adds definitely a bit of pressure. But last year, I got married on the Saturday of the show, so
oh my goodness.
This year's a little bit calmer. So a bigger garden, but less going on in personal life, so it's actually been okay.
Let's talk about your garden, because it is so beautiful. It's been designed with people with a rare form of dementia in mind. But this, in a way, is a garden for everybody. That's one of the principles you wanted to really get across, that people suffering from dementia will enjoy this garden, but also carers and loved ones as well. And what really catches my eye is the colour blue. It's striking. Why did you decide to use that?
So that's all to do with the contrast. So a good way of thinking about it is almost to go the other way. So an environment that would be really bad for someone with a visual form of dementia might be a bathroom, where the floor's white, the walls are white, the toilet's white, there's glass mirrors, and it almost is just contrastless, and the vision can fragment, and it's a very difficult environment to be in. So we've tried to then go the other way from that. So sort of where you see blue, you can sit. Yes. And where you see grey concrete and gravel, you can walk. The planting is sort of green, but with a bit of colour. So you make a sort of visual language for each sort of component system.
What tips would you give someone who's got a garden, or perhaps a bit of outside space, and they want to incorporate that in their planting?
If you try and make something that you feel like you can step into, that definitely helps create that sort of sanctuary feeling. Because if you just have, say, your lawn and you put planting all around the outside of it, you almost see it all at once. Whereas if you make a sense of enclosure and have something that you maybe have to sort of get round the back, then within that you might get that feeling of calm. And, you know, use trees, cover your boundaries with green. The greener it is, I think, the bigger the impact will be. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, so many people live in cities and towns. We just heard a helicopter go above our head. Our gardens are our sanctuary, and this one is beautiful. And again, congratulations on the gold.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now it is time to jump back into the action. It's not just on the gardens where the medals were handed out today. There was a gold rush in the Great Pavilion. But what tips can we take away from the growers that came out on top?
I'm always in awe of the hard work that exhibitors put in to creating these astounding displays. And I'm on the lookout for expert tips so we can produce plants of this quality in our own gardens. Steve, congratulations.
Thank you.
Double gold again for your agapanthus nerines and your clivias. Wonderful.
Yes, it's a fourth year on the trot we've had double gold, and I believe it's the first time in Chelsea's history.
So you're obviously the right person to come to find out all about growing agapanthus.
You could say that, yeah.
So come on, a few simple, straightforward rules.
Well, there's a couple of simple steps. First of all, if you've got 2 or 3 small agapanthus, cram them in a 12-inch container. They're happy for 2 years without repotting because they like to be really congested in the container.
What sort of compost would you use?
2 parts compost, 1 part alpine grit. As long as it's well drained,
Yeah.
cram them in the pot and they'll be well away.
Right.
As winter comes, they need a little bit of protection. Keep it dry, and then in spring, start feeding a high potash feed, and up it'll come, and you'll get a lovely flower.
Right. Look at this. I think this is marvellous because you can really see how it grows.
Yeah.
And doesn't that just show you what strong, sturdy roots
It does,
they've got?
and that shows you these roots are water storage organs, so they are drought tolerant.
Right.
So if you go away for a week or so, they're quite happy
Yeah.
without the water.
I'd be happy if I was an agapanthus on your stem.
Thank you.
Amanda, you're part of a dynasty of tulip growers because the Blondes have been growing tulips since 1860. Is
That's
that
right, Carol, yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
So I know you all know everything about them. But I mean, congratulations on this, on your gold medal and on this beautiful display. If I'm growing tulips, what must I take into account? What do they really love?
Tulips really love good drainage. They like to be in sun as well. Partial shade will be good, just to prolong the flowering period.
And when do you recommend actually planting your bulbs?
As late as October, November. Generally, after the first frost, you don't want the ground to be too soft, but after the first frost, the weather starts dropping, and that's the ideal to start planting.
They actually need cold, don't they?
They do. They need the cold in order to produce their root system, so they don't need any protection during the winter period.
Right. So when you're planting them, how deep do they need to go?
About 4 to 6 inches deep. A good rule to remember that is 2.5 times the size of the bulb, and that generally works out to be about 4 to 6 inches.
So don't be scared of planting them too deep.
No, not at all. No.
Right. So with all that brilliant advice from an absolute expert, I hope I'm going to have tulips like this next year.
Well, joining me now is chef and star of Great British Menu, Nisha Katona. Do you know what? I followed your career being a foodie myself, and I'm so pleased to have you here and talk about your love of gardens, because this has been in your family for years and years, hasn't it?
It really has, my goodness. I think that comes from being an immigrant. I think parents came over in the 1960s and they had to grow the vegetables that they wanted to cook. In those days, you couldn't really get garlic, you couldn't really get onion very easily, and ginger. And so they had, they lived out of pots and window boxes, and it made them very resourceful. And we learned that, you learn that basically you use every part of the plant. Exactly. Yeah. So you use the tops, you use the flowers, the pods, the roots, every bit of it, the leaf, the stalk. Make the most extraordinary dishes with them.
I was going to say, and it teaches you how to cook and to be resourceful, doesn't it?
It does, and it's so lovely to be sort of, for the good tilled earth part of your life. It's so therapeutic, and you feel so clever when you can go into your garden garden, grow something and bring it in and feed a family with what you've grown with your own hands, that self-sufficiency, it's good for the soul, isn't it?
Yeah, and the inspiration that you got from your family meant that you yourself have loved growing your own vegetables.
Very much so. You know, and that's, you know, I was walking around Chelsea yesterday, which was, can I tell you, a treat. I can't believe that you even have me here. It's incredible. But it was the vegetable gardens that I think are most breathtaking. I stopped and told somebody it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. Rows of kale and pak choi, stunning, more beautiful than any flower, I think.
And as a chef then, do you think you develop your recipes knowing that you want to develop recipes, that food that you've grown yourself and that people themselves will be able to have accessible to them?
Very much so. For me, the garden leads the kitchen. So I will go out in the garden, honestly, with a basket and a pair of scissors, and I will see what's grown. You know, what is ready for the pot. Is it the pods of the peas? Because we make a great curry with just pea pods. Is it the shoots of something? And then I will bring that in, and then I will just get my ingredients out and cook according to what's in the garden. So the garden leads the pan, and it's a lovely way of cooking then.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, you've recently moved. I know that you've got a vast garden, and are you going to be getting some tips here at Chelsea?
Very much so. I moved, so I'm a northern lass. I live on the Wirral, sort of near Liverpool, and I bought a house because of the garden. So we got horses and goats. So it's kind of a small holding, and it had 15 of the most beautiful Corsican pines, and Storm Arwen took out 10 of them.
No.
So I was left with all of this, you know, blank canvas space, and so it's now raised veg boxes. I'm going to get some trees that produce beautiful flowers, so things like the cornus, Davidia, things that I've seen at Chelsea. You know, this is what's so great about going to RHS, and you go through the year and you can see what colours and what structures and architecture you can give to your garden at different times of the year. I'm an addict.
Well, Nisha, I know you're going to be looking around, but you've also made time to cook for us later, to tell us about different things you can do for your summer barbecues, yeah?
That's exactly what it's about. It's about simplicity. It's about going out to your window box with a pair of scissors and what you can wield in the kitchen from what your own home gives you. There's nothing better.
We're looking forward to that. I've lucked out because I'm going to be joining you.
I'm lucked out to meet you. It's really good to be here.
Oh, sounds delicious. And we'll post all the ingredients for Nisha's recipes on our socials. Now, here's what else we've got coming up. Chris delves into one of the most competitive contests at Chelsea as we reveal the Florist of the Year 2023. And James is helping you to get growing with his beginner's guide to the mysterious world of bonsai. But first, with the bank holiday fast approaching, no doubt you'll be heading into your local garden centre or nursery, and fingers crossed we'll have sunshine to stock up for summer. And it's easy to reach for the familiar plants we all love, but there are simple swaps you could make that mean you get more out of the plants you choose. I'm joined by Mark because this is something, Mark, that you are passionate about, isn't it?
Absolutely, Nikki. I'm opening my summer swap shop this week. So classic plants like peonies, irises are looking great in the border at the moment, but there are some brilliant plants that we can be putting in our gardens for longer flowering and also are more resistant to our changing climate.
Why do you think we're so reticent to try something new? What should we be looking at?
Well, I'm going to be looking at the wonderful annuals this time. So annuals are going to give us that longer flowering, they're going to look great in the borders, and don't be scared of them.
You see, it's all about the annuals, isn't it, Mark? Let's take a look at the first set of swaps we can make.
Jane, the garden is looking fabulous. I love the fact you're also colour matching, which I really love. Now, we're getting hotter summers and sort of wetter winters, and we're having to adapt really to how we plant our gardens. But that's where annuals are really good, isn't it?
I think the interesting thing about annuals is that they're going to grow where they are happy.
Yes.
And that's what's brilliant about them. So if you naturally let them go, they will be the ones that survive and tolerate those conditions.
So I'm on the lookout for some really good annuals which are drought tolerant, but also have a little bit of interest, so maybe self-seeders or seed heads. What have we got in the garden?
I've got Nigella Damascena. It's absolutely brilliant for a feathery texture. So I put it with fennel just to kind of echo that on a lower level.
That seed head as well, it's just gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you've got the lovely poppy right next to it.
Beth's poppy, named after Beth Chatto. The prettiest pink you can imagine, so delicate. and tiny seed heads.
And I noticed there's a little olea on the corner, but there's a story behind that, isn't
Well,
there?
she self-seeded among all the nigella, and I saw that something different was coming up, and she just had to be welcomed into the garden because she'd made her own way here.
With our ever-changing climates, there are some annuals that we can grow as perennials, just with a little bit of care and attention. Take this osteospermum. It's grown as an annual in this country, which means it's unlikely to survive our cold, wet winters. To extend its life, why not think about growing it in a pot so you can bring it indoors over the winter and pop it out again in the spring so you get another hit of colour the following year. And then why not pick out that gorgeous purple with that lovely purple Nicotiana at the back. Pair those two together and you've got a wonderful combination.
Mark will be back tomorrow with more from his summertime swap shop. Now, the gardens here are undoubtedly world class, but that doesn't mean there aren't ideas we can use in our own. And across this week, Rachel is diving into our borders, looking at the skills and techniques designers here at Chelsea have used to create them and how you can do the same at home.
I absolutely love coming to Chelsea to get inspiration from my own garden. And this year there are some incredible plant choices that I think will take all our gardens to the next level. And today we're going to be looking at foliage because I believe it's absolutely essential to the look and the feel of the whole garden. And here on this Japanese garden, foliage really is king. It's all about the different leaf patterns and textures. There are lots of aces, which are actually key to Japanese garden design. And they're so beautiful. They have this palmate leaf, so they're sort of spread out like the palm of your hand. Some of them are sort of fairly solid and others are very feathery and finely dissected. Now they're deciduous, which means obviously that you don't have the leaves all through the year, but the actual shape of the shrubs or the trees is really good. So they make a nice structure through the winter as well. And there are all sorts of gorgeous things just growing down here through the moss. We've got Hutinia, and that has at least 3 different colours in a single leaf. You've got the red around the margin and peachy shades, and then it comes in towards the green right in the centre of the leaf. And there are some edible plants here too. So we've got a mint, a water mint down here, and then there's a nasturtium. So much variety just in terms of leaf colour, shape and texture alone, and it really makes the whole garden. But from something very lush and slightly damp growing conditions to something rather different. This is more arid, drought-tolerant plants, much more sunny and open. And so we're going to see different kinds of plants used. And I think so important always to look at the hard landscaping around. So here, they've got this wonderful slate. It's really textural and these beautiful composite material as well. And it means that the colours stand out beautifully against them. Just look at the Achillea up there, lovely sort of leafy foliage, just fern-like almost, and standing up straight against that back wall. We've also got some euphorbia here and lovely feathery fennel just coming through. But if you haven't got enough space to plant lots of different foliage, you can get a similar effect just in a single container. We've got so much variety in here. There's Muhlenbeckia, which just sort of drizzles down the front of the pot, very elegant, very slender, dark stems and rounded foliage and sort of bright emerald green. I must say, I absolutely love flowers and flower colour, but just look what amazing combinations you can make just with the foliage.
And Rachel will be back later in our Chelsea clinic answering your gardening questions. But before that, Chris has been checking out what some of the UK's most influential florists have been creating this year.
One of the most eye-catching areas at Chelsea has to be the floristry exhibits. The talent and creativity that goes into making the designs is out of this world. This year, to win the much coveted Florist of the Year award, designers have been challenged with turning lampposts and bins into award-winning pieces of art. And let me tell you, they didn't disappoint. I'm here with Julie Pearson, who's just found out she's won gold for her installation. How do you feel? I know how you feel because
My eyes. I didn't realise quite how emotional about.
Tell me about your installation. What was the brief?
The brief was we had to use a drum, so I decided to go for a botanical spinach.
How did you decide what to use?
But because of the season we've had, there wasn't actually that much availability, and so I've gone with the fritillaria, the amaryllis, things that are long-lasting.
For me, the colour scheme is incredible.
I wanted the contrast, the luminosity of the yellow and the greens against the black. I wasn't really too much concerned about the colours, but just the contrast.
It definitely worked with the judges. Gold.
I'm so excited, I can't wait to tell my family.
So, Nicola, you've literally just found out 5 minutes ago that you won silver gilt. How do you feel? Has it sunk in?
No, it's not sunk in. Really excited. I only thought I was going to get bronze. It's the first time I've been here. I didn't really know what to expect.
Talk me through your piece. What was the thinking behind it? What were you trying to achieve?
Okay, so I'm very, very keen on sustainable floristry, so I don't like to use anything that I can't recycle or compost. Because we started with the oil barrel,
Yep.
I made a frame out of the willow that I grow on my site. So you can see in here, this is all the willow. When I get back to my flower farm, I'm going to compost it. I'm going to cut it all up and it'll go on the compost heap and use to grow more flowers.
Silver gilt, your first time here. I mean, can you put into words how that feels?
I simply just can't believe it. It's incredible.
There's lots of medal celebrations going on here, but it's time to find out who's been crowned Florist of the Year. And Nikki's caught up with them to hear all about it.
Well, I'm delighted to be with Charlotte and Vicky, so congratulations.
Thank you.
RHS Chelsea Florist or Florists of the Year. And also another gold. How does it feel?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I can't believe it. We've done it again.
But how long have you two been together? Because you've got quite a few golds under your belt, haven't you, Charlotte?
Yes, 20 years we've been together at my granddad's shop, so a very, very long time. It's been in the family 80 years. It was his granddad's before that.
Wow.
So.
Well, it is obviously a winning combination. Quickly talk us through this marvellous display.
So the design had to be a sustainable design. It's on a metal bin, which is here, you can just see. And then there was no floral foam used at all, so you were not allowed to use floral foam.
Yeah, that's gone, that's history.
Not allowed. So we had to find a new medium which we could use to obviously keep the flowers alive and sustain their life. So we decided to do a bottle appeal. So we basically asked people from local businesses, restaurants, anywhere that could come and bring us bottles, which we've got a huge amount of bottles.
Well, what is so lovely about this is that we can do this at home, can't we?
Yeah.
So some quick tips then for people who want to achieve something like this.
Recycle your wine bottles that you drank at the weekend.
Yes,
clean
very
them
good.
out.
Very good. Get rid of the evidence, yes.
Clean them out, put them on the windowsill and get some flowers out the garden.
Brilliant. Drink responsibly and then you've got
Enjoy
this
the flowers.
as a result.
Definitely.
It is marvellous. And girls, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to be back with Chef Nisha Katona, and it's time to fire up the barbecue. Very excited. 3 dishes we've got to get through.
3 dishes, really quickly, but that's the way I like to cook. And barbecue, weather and spring in the garden, it's just heaven, because it's all about what we can grow and how we can throw it into our food and make it magical. Lamb chops, the ultimate barbecue dish, and I know you're a fan. I know you're a fan. So lamb chops work really well with 3 things: lemon, salt and garlic. But what I'm going to use for this is wild garlic. So if I just pass that to you.
Yeah.
Wild garlic, it's like finding treasure in your garden. If you find a wild garlic plant, it's there forever. It will come every year. So grab it while you can and turn it into pesto, which is basically your wild garlic, a bit of salt.
Yeah.
That's a kind of abrasive, but also it gives it that flavour. Lemon for the acidity. And what's very iconic of any pesto is toasted or non-toasted pine nuts.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what that does is it also gives you a bit of oil. Once you mash that up, you get that oil that helps almost marinate that meat. Okay? And then the last thing, this is a little twist just to give you a bit more oomph, and this is cumin powder. Optional. You don't have to put it in, but it's going to give you that little bit of warmth. So thank you very much for doing that. But you could blitz it up in a hand blender.
Yeah.
And you end up then with this, and that's your wild garlic pesto. And all I'm going to do is smear that. Yeah, do. Onto my. You're not afraid at all about social graces, are you? Throwing the garlic down. That's what I love about you. So we put that onto your lamb chops. You can.
Lovely.
Oh, thank you. You can either griddle that, you can put it in a tin foil pouch and put it on your barbecue, and they are ready within minutes. Absolutely stunning.
Yummy.
Right, next, gin and tonic salmon. This is what it says on the tin.
Gin and tonic?
I kid you not. I was once making a salmon dish, had a gin and tonic, and I just poured it into the marinade, and I cannot tell you how well it works. So this is what you do. Make yourself a gin and tonic.
Don't drink it.
Into the bowl. That's the hard part, isn't it? Into this, a little bit of garlic. Trust me, a little bit of garlic in with it. You need salt. You need, again, the lemon or the lime, which has come from a gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And coriander powder. Now, coriander powder is very herby and feminine and floral.
I love coriander.
I'm glad you do. I think it's worth having a bottle of that in your store
This is
cupboard.
fizzing up.
Fizzing, which is what we want, because what we're going to do is we're going to drop our salmon into it. Now, what happens that's very interesting is two things. One, the gin poaches the salmon, so the longer you can leave that, the better it will cook. It will almost cook like ceviche, but you can immediately put it into parcels again, foiled over, and this is the salmon if you want to taste it. Those are the lamb chops for you to get tucking into.
Look at this.
While I make for you a pea salad. Now, just before I finish that, into that gin and tonic marinade, I am just going to snip from my herb box whatever I can. So this is parsley, coriander, lemon thyme. You throw it in, and it all helps add to that marinade.
It's all about seasoning. That is perfect.
Yeah, seasoning, salt, lemon, wild garlic, that's what's going to bring those flavours out. Finally, a salad, because you need them, because we have to tick that salad box, but this is a lovely Asian pea shoot salad. Love pea shoots because it gets you using the whole of the pea plant. And all I do, you know these wartime marrow fat peas? Yes. Give them a little soak. Into your window box, you don't even need a garden. And that becomes a beautiful cut and come again crop where you just keep trimming it, throw it into salads, throw it into stir fries. Into this, I have got edamame beans that I've just defrosted, things from your garden like fennel fronds, heavenly, if I can reach across, nasturtium flowers, absolutely fantastic to give you a bit of flavour. And those are the edamame beans. Now we're going to make a super quick Asian dressing. Asian dressings are based on sesame oil. It's going to give you that toasted flavour.
Yeah.
A little bit of rice vinegar for a bit of sharpness. A little bit of soy to bring you that salt and that umami.
Yeah.
And then what's really important in Asian dressing is a little bit of brown sugar. Always in a salad dressing, you think about that sweet element. You are then simply going to toss that over, toss it together. This is quick cooking, isn't it?
This is so incredible. Lamb was lovely, the fish was punchy, and I'm going to taste that in a second. Now, if you want to know what the latest trends in gardening are, look no further than Chelsea. If, like me, you love to experiment and try something new, but don't always know where to start, then help is at hand. James Wong has the first of his guides this week to help you grow plants that might seem daunting. I'm ready. Can I cut away?
Yes. Can I stand here and watch? Fantastic.
My favourite thing about Chelsea is that it's just constantly introducing me to new ideas and really helping challenge some of my horticultural preconceptions. And this year, it's just a bonsai bonanza. People can think of them as really tricky to grow, really expensive, but that is just not the case. So I've decided to prove this by taking you on a bonsai journey to show you how to get started with a few simple tips and tricks. Before we get started, I should probably explain exactly what bonsai actually are, because they're often spoken about as if they're a species. Bonsai is just a pruning method, and I think the best way to think about them is essentially as Asian topiary, because in the West, when we try to create topiary, we generally aim for something that's geometric. Whereas in Asia, what you're trying to do with bonsai is create the illusion of a wild, rugged specimen that's growing high in the mountains. If you think that bonsai are delicate specimens that will demand a specialist glass house with humidity and heating controls, well, think again, because everything behind me has been grown outdoors with zero protection in Cheshire and has sailed through lows of -15 degrees. Looking at masterpieces like this, you could be forgiven that thinking that all bonsai are ancient and therefore priceless. But this specimen started life just 10 years ago when it was fished out of a skip as a tree stump. And that really shows that to create prize-winning bonsai, you don't have to have loads of money, just attention and care. So if you want to know how to care for your bonsai, it really boils down to 3 simple things. One of them is how you create this dwarfing shape. That's simply done by pruning. In traditional topiary, you might just prune out the top layer. With bonsai, this also goes on below ground. Once a year, you're going to take this plant out of its pot to repot it, and you prune off a large amount of its roots. And by doing that, the cumulative effect is keeping the plant nice and small. The other thing you might wonder is how you create these incredible shapes. If you look closely here, you can actually see the bonsai wire. You just wrap this around the branches, and that makes them really pliable and easy to position. The last thing you need to know is watering. Now, I'm going to come clean here. Bonsai can be quite simple, but they are never low maintenance. So specimens like this will need watering in summer literally every day to keep them happy. And that's because they have this tiny pot and a really small root zone, so they dry out very quickly. The most incredible thing about bonsai is they're this perfect combination between fine art and horticulture. You're literally creating living sculpture. And with a few tips and tricks that I've given you today, I promise you, anyone can get started.
All week, Toby is showing us how we can transform our gardens the Chelsea way whilst watching our wallets at the same time. Yesterday, he showed us how to create a cost-effective entertaining space for our summer parties. And today, he's focusing on making a real splash in our gardens.
If you like the idea of a beautiful garden, then water can be the perfect addition to transform your space. And a pond is an easy place to start. Anyone can dig a hole in their garden, then line it with plastic to hold the water. The art comes in how you hide that pond liner. Now this is a beautiful example of a wildlife pond in Tom Massey's garden. It has gently sloping sides like beaches that allow frogs and newts and easy ways to clamber out to the dry land. And what he's used to line and disguise his plastic liner, well, it's quite ingenious. The usual material is pebbles, which you buy from the garden centres, but they're expensive. And not only that, they're quite slippery, and that means they always slide down under the weight of gravity, revealing the plastic underneath. So why not copy Tom? What he's done is use old builder's rubble, stuff that would normally be thrown away. It's much cheaper. Not only that, it's angular and grips together. Best of all, it'll provide a perfect home for marginal plants. These are plants like reeds that like their toes in the water and their heads in the sun and provide a perfect habitat for emerging damselflies and dragonflies. This is a beautiful wildlife-friendly feature for anyone on a budget. The Chelsea Flower Show is home to some magnificently large water features, but also some that are more subtle, like this one. It's on the Natural Affinity Garden for aspens. I've never seen anything like it. It's just so wonderfully simple. It's a giant stone that doubles as a seat with a hole in it, and water spills out over a flat surface. But big or small, water features like this work in the same way, and it's a simple principle that you can copy in your own garden. Basically, there's a bucket in the ground or a sump that holds the water, and there's a pump goes in the base of that. That drives water up a pipe out to the top, and then it tumbles back down into the bucket. A tap isn't left running, so they're very economical to have. And they're also reasonably cheap to buy. Now this is probably my favourite feature in the whole of the Chelsea Flower Show. It looks like something that could come out of an art gallery because it's got rough edges on the outside and a polished centre. And it's such a wonderful idea because the water acts like a giant mirror, bringing light into darker spaces and shady corners. If this isn't your style, you could use galvanised bathtubs or those terracotta drip trays that go under pots. They'd reflect the light and make a wonderful bath for the birds. Because that's the thing about a water feature, it is the best way of bringing wildlife into your garden. A water feature needn't cost the earth.
Oh, thanks, Toby. Now, before we reach the end of the show, it's time for the Chelsea Clinic, where we answer your gardening questions. And joining us today is Rachel. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
So what have you seen throughout the show that you've loved?
Oh, so much. I think it's a bumper show, I really do. I think one of the things I've been most drawn to are the irises that are in the front of that garden.
Stunning.
Those subtle colours. Sarah Price, the designer, and I believe you spoke to her,
Spoke
didn't
to
you?
her, I was on the garden. It's just sublime, isn't it?
It looks incredible. I love all the trees, especially the multi-stem trees. A lot of trees, which I'd like to take home, but my garden just isn't big enough. Now, are you ready for the questions, Rachel? Should we get started?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Come on then. Debbie Conter on Instagram says, my question is about clematis, or clematis, if you want to pronounce it that way. Could you recommend one that will tolerate shade, please?
I think probably my favourite one for a shady spot is Nellie Moser, and she's well known for that. And she's got this lovely, soft, lilac-y pink colouring, and then in the middle of each petal is a sort of magenta stripe. And the good thing about growing it in shade is if you put her in the sun, it sort of fades. Those colours fade and they don't become so sort of rich and beautiful. So really good. But actually all clematis benefit from a bit of shade around the roots.
Lovely.
That's the other thing.
Angelica.
Well, I've got Steph here. Have you made it easy for me because it's on your necklace?
It is.
Thank you. What's your question for Rachel?
So, mine's a dahlia question. I'm a dahlia novice, and I was enviously eyeing Monty's bushy dahlias on the show last week, and mine have just got a big long stalk on them, and I pinched them out, but nothing's happening. How do I get them bushy and beautiful?
Right. Did you start them off in the pots?
Yes.
You did. OK, so you're doing all the right things, and I think if you've taken it down, but I wouldn't do that too much now. You know, let it get bigger. Is it the first year for growing these particular dahlias? So they will just get bigger, you know, as over the next few years, and you'll find you've got a sort of monster plant, and then you'll be dividing it up. So I think it's just a little bit of time, and also a nice sunny spot, good rich soil.
Brilliant, thank you. I'll give it a go.
We love dahlias, don't we?
Oh.
Beautiful,
Adore them.
beautiful. Let's try something a bit different, shall we? Chris McGee on Twitter says, my compost heap doesn't compost very quickly. Is there anything I can do to speed up the production?
I think people tend to be in a hurry with compost, and it's not always one of those things that you can rush. It does take time. And then it's the mix. It's what you put in. You want the green material, whether that's the grass cuttings or weeds, and you need some of the dry material. It can be ripped up cardboard, or it can be bits of twigs and so on that you've shredded. So it's getting that right, and then turn it so the air gets in there, and also keep it moist. You can just sort of water it a bit if need be, and then you do have to wait a little bit. I think that's the other thing.
It's all about patience.
Patience is key, yes.
Well, let's quickly get this question from Marge and Javon, mother and daughter-in-law combo from Liverpool. What is it?
Hi, I've got a south-facing garden with lots of clay soil. I'm just wondering what the best type of plants.
Do you know, that's the sort of best kind, you know, south-facing, because clay soil is really fertile. Roses will absolutely love that.
Right, thank you.
Oh, lovely. It's all in the roses, Rachel. Thank you so, so much. And sadly, that's all we've got time for today. But keep your questions coming, because tomorrow, design guru Adam Frost will be answering them.
Also tomorrow, Chris has got his guide on how to get the most bang for your buck when buying plants. Carol is telling us why euphorbia is a must-have plant in our gardens and how you can look after it. And we'll be joined by 80s legend and keen gardener Kim Wilde.
Monty and Joe are back on BBC Two at 8 p.m. tonight with the full roundup from Medals Day and the most coveted award of all, the RHS Best Show Garden. And we'll see you tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. on BBC One.
I won't be there. Until then, from all of us, bye.